Welcome to Clippers and Tippers for another week, all thanks to Tyrepower. What about this week's guest? He calls himself the Magic Man because he is the Magic Man. He was tipping minutes at $65 yesterday on SENTrack. Miles Pfitzner, welcome to Clippers and Tippers.
Hello G-Man, good to be in the chair.
Yeah, big day yesterday.
Good day yesterday, better day on a Saturday. We had a good day yesterday, so hopefully find another one this weekend.
Have you met Maury? Oh, you have. You just sat down. But Maury, what are you going to do with his hair?
I think a number 3 on the sides and back.
Yeah.
A bit longer on top.
What do you think of it?
What do you think? No, it's okay.
Well, you don't
can improve it.
You don't go into a butcher and tell them how to cut the steak.
No.
So I won't tell you how to cut hair, Murray. You just away you go.
And your beard looks okay. Does your hair work with your beard?
We'll have a look at the ear.
Tipped a $65 winner yesterday. What's the longest winner that you've ever tipped?
Longest winner, we were talking about this yesterday, actually into the SENTrack thread, was a horse called Romancer up the straight at Flemington about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 122 to 1.
Yeah.
And one of our great friends at SEN, I won't say his name, but he actually had 100 on that day and it won up the straight at Flemington. So Romancer in the OTI colours,
Okay.
I think I recall. So
when you first started at SENTrack, didn't you hit the ground running?
Yeah, so my first ever shift, I was down in Rome on holidays,
Yeah.
and I got a call up from Jules Bayard saying, "Do you want to do an SENTrack shift? We heard you were into racing." So I was doing a little bit of Sandford footy and stuff at the time, and I said, "Yep, I can." They said, "Well, you've got to be there pretty quickly." So jumped straight in the car, drove 4 hours to Adelaide. I was trying to do form in the car on the way up, which I don't advise to anyone because I was a bit nervous about starting, and got on air. I think the second race in at Cairns, I tipped Stella Moon at $41, and sort of Brownie nearly fell out of his chair. So it was a good start,
Yeah.
and then after that, so the rest is history, really.
So you enjoyed the tipping or the punting? Which do you think you're better at?
Well, I spent probably most of my life punting and had a good crack at it. Sort of semi-professionally. So I spent a lot of time
What's semi-professional?
Well, as in I
3 days a
wasn't.
week.
I wasn't relying on it for an income.
Yeah.
But it was a big part of my life, and I spent a lot of hours on it.
Yeah.
So essentially, what I do was I sort of had to build up to a point where I had a bank, and I was able to turn that bank over. I did a lot of it all by hand, so I'm not really a data guy. I've only used that a bit more only recently.
So by hand, you mean watching videos?
Watching videos, but also doing a lot of the form and everything. I still do. My form books are done in 3 drafts, all by hand. So the first draft's done, all written out by hand. Then the second draft, and then I take my final draft.
So what's that look like then?
An absolute mess.
So
But it's almost shorthand to me of what it looks like, and I'll have circles, underlines, dashes, all mean different things. 2-bet plays, duchies, dangers, question marks.
So you go through and have a look at the field. Do you go and look at the speed map first, or how that tries to paint the picture of how the race will be run?
Yeah, probably speed mapping came in a fair bit later. I was taught by a guy very, very early that your best horse in the race, you've got to find excuses as to why the best horse can't win.
Yeah.
So to find the best horse in the race, you're normally looking at the previous start. It's as good a guide as you get from any. So I'd probably look at the previous start more than anything. But I've got quite a few little quirks where I don't really like tracks that are probably lean one way or the other.
Yeah.
I'm a fair track better, so tracks like Sandown, Bendigo, Morfettville, but especially tracks in WA where the good horses can get a really good opportunity. So I steer away from tracks like Strathalbyn, Moonee Valley, Morfettville Parks.
So what are your non-negotiables? If you're doing the form and you see a horse that's got a variable that you don't want to have going into a race?
I don't have many punting rules in regards to, a lot of people don't like horses back in trip or up in trip. I've got some faith in the trainer that they know what they're doing, or they're trying to put their horse in the right race to win. I guess, I've got more rules around, like a couple of my miss, I don't back internationals in Australia first start. I like to back them second start. But it's more steering away from tracks.
Okay.
So I'm not a heavy track better. The minute that heavy's in the book, I got taught that very early to just
shut up shop.
Just shut up shop.
Okay.
So the variation between 8s, 9s and 10s in Australia from track to track. A lot of people don't really understand that a 10 on one track and a 10 on another track are totally different. So wet decks are completely out. That's probably the main one really, but just try to find the best horse in the race.
You cop the tip for me to come tomorrow to do your hair because I don't reckon your barber was doing a good enough job before.
Well, but I don't really have a barber, and growing up on a farm, I've probably had more haircuts with a shearing handpiece than I have had in proper barbershops, and also the boarding house wasn't great for haircuts either. So it's nice to have a proper one.
When it comes to horse racing, who do you listen to most?
Well, the Devil Within's probably the best.
Yeah. Who's the best tip? What's the best tip that you've ever copped?
The best tip that I've ever copped. Well, it probably rolls into one quick story, but I did go to the Adelaide Carnival once with a mate that was working with a big group in Queensland, another guy that had a Group 1 runner in the Derby. I had a runner that day at Morfordville, and the guy I was with, he owned a horse called Leicester, which won the SA Derby. We rolled in on course. The guy from Queensland said, my horse will run second. I said, well, my horse will win. And he said, well, mine will win the Derby. And then the bloke that owned Leicester said, I've also got one running at Caulfield, that'll win as well. So we took them place, win, win, win. My horse won, I think it was race 7 at Morfordville. We walked into the winners' rooms, watched the horse win at Caulfield in the winners' rooms, walked out and won the SA Derby, and then went straight back in the winners' rooms. So it was sort of a 3-win, 1 place, all up.
Did you have a punt?
Yeah, we did.
How much did you win?
I was not far off that. I know that there was a couple that I was with that were well into the 6 figures.
Alright then, I'm giving you $50 this week for clippers and tippers thanks to Tyrepower. We got a win last week, so we are on the board. Big swinger. Did you back it, Maury? Big swinger?
I backed the other one. I lost again.
You're the jigs. You're the bigger. You're
No, I followed up from last week.
Gallinero.
Yes.
Didn't handle the track. Anyway,
2 losses.
but we're on the board. So who are you going with, Milo?
I thought I'd go value, and I'm going to go with a couple of races to finish at Eagle Farm. So I've been quite keen on Deep Focus, especially after its last sort of 2, 4, 600 in the Rough Habit, how it ran on.
Yeah.
I'm using the Rough Habit as a form guide, so that's around $20. So I'll have 10 each way on Deep Focus, and then in the last there's a horse called Sazu. In the last at Eagle Farm, that's $15. So I'll have 15 each way on Sazu in the last. So the $20 pop and $14 pop for you.
Well, I'm only going 1 out with 1 horse on Saturday. We're going to Flemington. Race 8, horse 9, Champagne Journey.
Favourite?
Yeah, no, around $9, Maury. Dan Nettle rides for Shane Jackson. He was good at Waterville first up. Won by the length of the Flemington Straight at Horsham, 2,000 metres, big tick. I reckon she'll go awfully close.
What colours?
They're in the Tony Otterbury Pride of Jenny colours.
It's not going to start.
No, Champagne Jenny. She would have went close in the Oaks if she was up there. She's a filly by National Events.
What price?
We're getting $9.
Nice.
50 straight out. So there we go, there's our tips this week with our $50 staking plan for clippers and tippers brought to you by Tyrepower. And I'll tell you what, Maury.
I hope we win this week.
Yeah, I hope you back. Which one are you going to back?
I think I'll back your ones.
Deep Focus and Sazu.
You're not going to jump on my bandwagon.
Well, yours in the last race. If I've got any money left, then I'll back yours.
Gamble responsibly, 1-800-858-858. Hey Maury, what would you say to Miles' boots?
Need a bit of a polish.
Yeah.
Well, they look like they've done a bit of work, haven't they?
Just a bit of polish.
Probably because they have. Growing up in the country, the boots are the last thing you worry about.
Hey Milo, thanks for joining us on Clippers and Tippers. Well done yesterday by tipping that $60-odd winner, and let's hope your good form continues over the weekend.
Thanks, G-Man.
Thanks, mate.